Hi everybody, my name is Ju Chong and you can simply call me Boven. So in this digital story, I had recorded what I learned and what I did in the 7 days PolyU training workshop. So on the first day, we had the scaffolding lessons. In the morning, the instructor had introduced all of the simple materials and information about forcework and scaffolding. I learned that scaffolding is a particular type of forcework. It is used to give temporary access for the workers to work in the construction site. After that, the instructor had demonstrated how to build a scaffold. This type of scaffold is first put the base planes to the required locations. Then he used the hammer to push the iron planes into the connecting holes, so the base frame is connected. Also, he used the pump root to check the horizontalness of the frame, and also installed the cross bracing to resist the wind noise. Finally, he put the working platform on the second story, and the scaffold is finished. Later on, we tried to build a scaffold by ourselves, and I find that it is not an easy job because the connecting holes are not good fit for the pins to push in. Fortunately, under our good teamwork, we worked together and finally, we successfully built our own scaffold. Then on the second day, I had the formwork lessons. The instructor introduced what is formwork. It is a temporary supporting mold to concrete. He also introduced some terms of formwork like the runners, bearers, and different types of formwork, like this one using the metal as the materials, and this one using the timber as the materials. He also showed some simple cutting methods of timber. There are many free methods which was semi-manually, manually and mechanically. After that, we tried to build a formwork model by ourselves. And the step is first calculate all the dimensions that the timber panel required. Then we used handsaw to cut the panels and use sandpaper to smoothen the surface of the panels for a better appearance. Finally, we used the hammer to push the nails in to face the formwork and install the tie bars to resist the concrete pressure. Then the model is finished. At first, I was not familiar with using a hammer and I usually bend the nails, but fortunately, with the help of my good teammates, I finally can push the nails straightly. On day 3, I had the structural steel lessons. I learned that why structural steel is so famous to use, their properties and different types of structural steel like universal column and beams. To fabricate a structural steel out, there are total 6 steps, and in each step we need to inspect the steel to ensure that the steel is in good quality. There are many inspecting methods, and one of them is very famous, that is the dye penetrating test. In this test, we will first spray some cleaning solutions on the plate, then we spray these testing liquids on the plate, and the red dots showed that there may be some deflects or crackings on the metal plate. Then the instructor had also demonstrated how to use some common machines in the structural steel work. Like this one is a magnetic electric drill that can drill holes on the columns, and this one is the wire brush that can clean the dust on the steel surface before coating. He also led us to try welding. While I think welding is really a very dangerous work because the temperature is very high, so we need to use this face shield and wear a full protective clothing, including the front wear and also the gloves. But I think the sparks are really beautiful. Finally, we had an assignment that is cut the steel plates to the required shape by ourselves. The small parts of these steel plates need us to use the handsaw to cut it, and I find that it is really hard for us to cut the steel by our hands, and I promise I will never use the handsaw to cut steel anymore. On day 4, I had the NDT and anchor lessons. In the morning, I first had the NDT lessons, that is the non-destructive test. NDT is used to test some defects that is undercover and we cannot rule out by our eyes. There are many methods for NDT, and 4 of them are very famous, which is the rebound hammer test, calorimeter test, half cell potential test, and also the infrared thermography test. For example, this infrared thermography test can measure the temperature of any part of an object. So let's say if an object is under leakage of water, that part will have a temperature lower than normal, and we can know this from the screen. So in the afternoon, I had the anchoring sessions. In this session, I had learned many new things, like the working principles of anchor, the key inference factors, and also the installing methods. I know that there are many types of anchoring like friction type and adhesive type. And here is a demonstration of how to fix the adhesive type anchor. First, we will drill a hole, then we clean the hole with hand brush, followed by the air pump. Then we can put the adhesive solutions into the hole, and we will use a drill to put the anchor into the hole. Finally, the anchor is fixed in the hole. These photos also showed the edge failure mode of anchoring. This may be due to the concrete is not strong enough or the anchor is too near the edge of the concrete. So on day 5, we had the structural concrete lessons. On this day, we learned many things that we learned before, like the properties of concrete that is weak in tension but strong in compression, different types of cement like the rapid hardening cement, and many tests to test the workability of a concrete. But we learned a new thing, that is, this new formula used to calculate the proportions of the elements in the concrete. Then we went to mix some fresh concrete to cast in our timber formwork model that we made on day 2. First, we weighed the essential elements for the fresh concrete like cement, sand, and water. It is not an easy job as the materials are very heavy, and also we need to wear the N95 masks, so we are all wet and it is very hot. After all of the materials are prepared, we poured them into the concrete mixer, and finally, these fresh concrete were produced. Then we painted some formwork paint into the inner surface of our formwork. These planks are used to prevent bondings formed between the concrete and our formwork. Also, we used the vibrator to vibrate out any faults formed in our fresh concrete to increase the strength of our concrete. And finally, after smoothing the surface of our concrete, the whole casting process is finished. On day 6, it is also the structural concrete lessons. On this day, I learned how to calculate the number of reinforcement needed in some construction plans, the component factor test so as to estimate the future concrete strength, and also how to bend reinforcement. And this one is our nice concrete model. We also tried to fix the reinforcement into the beam formwork. I find that just be patient and we will be success. Like this one, I am using the pliers to fix the steel wires. The last day was brickwork and plastering. First, we were taught some background information about them, like here's different types of brick and blocks, and also different bondings like English bond and Flemish bond. Then we tried to build a brick wall by ourselves. First, we mixed some cement sand mortars in the ratio of 1:3. I find that the horizontalness of built and brick work is very important. We need to draw some horizontal and perpendicular lines, also using the water piles and the spirit level to check the horizontalness. Finally, applying the plastering works on the bricks and the brick wall is built. We have also been demonstrated of how to stick the tiles on the wall, and I have tried the plastering works. I found that plastering needs a very good angle and force so as to stick the mortars on the wall firmly. After this training workshop, I really learned a lot, such as I learned many new knowledges, I practiced many cases, and especially I note how important safety is. Also, I had enhanced my interest in construction definitely. The first reason is interesting. I found that the construction works is full of fun after I practiced them. And the second reason is challenging. As construction works always had new challenges due to specific landform and technologies, I'm that kind of people that like to meet challenges. I really want to work in construction fields to get the feeling of success. So this is the end of my digital story. Bye.